Thanks for checking out a message. Here at Centerpoint, our goal is to be positive, relevant, and real, and help you take the next step in your relationship with God. Enjoy!
Well, good morning. Welcome to Centerpoint Church. My name is DeMaster. I'm a pastor here. If you're new, thanks for checking out a service. Our goal is to give you a 1-hour service that's positive, that's relevant, and real. And although our style might be a bit different than other churches in the area or what you're used to, we want you to know that we still see the Bible as authority here, and we take God very seriously. This month, what we're doing is we're in this series that's called Book Club. Whether you hate reading or you love reading, who's my hate reading people? Who's my love reading people? Okay, the hate reading people are just like, I don't even want to participate. Nevertheless, think about reading. But whether you hate reading or love it, for this series, what I hope to do is just give you the main ideas with no reading necessary, and then you can decide if you want more from the book or not. But over these next few weeks, what we're going to do is we're going to look at 4 different books that are meant to inspire you towards your Christian faith, but then to help you grow in a specific way. Last week, we covered one that gave you tactics to achieve your goals and your dreams. We have one coming up that will help you be a better leader and decision maker. We have another one that will help you manage family life and personal life in the 21st century that's always changing and full of technology. But this week's is meant to help you find community. How would you say you're doing with community these days? I'm talking to you two introverts because God says we need it. He says in Genesis 2:18, it's not good for man to be alone. So it's not good for us to be alone. Actually, research has even found being alone can be just as bad for your health as being a smoker, being obese, being never working out. It says that it even causes greater risk for depression and anxiety and suicide. So I think God knew this, right? God knew this, but I think even more than that, he knew that we need a community. Not only does being in a community combat health decline, but it also improves life. Once you just realize oh man, it just looks so much fun to be a part of a community of people, right? And I don't know about you, but I buy that. I buy that when I see that out in the world. And I'm an introvert, but I still see people with amazing friendships and think, I want that. Don't you? And TV shows, they make it even more appealing. They almost make it seem like it's just so easy. TV shows have portrayed friend groups, even with the weirdest people, and it being I want that. I thought for fun, we'd see if you can guess some of the most classic friend groups of network TV based off of the theme song. So we're going to play a little game. It's going to be really quick. But you're going to see if you can guess the TV show based off of the theme song. So here's the first one. Oh, okay. Whoa. All right. Next one. Okay. Time. What was it? Okay. Next one. Okay. Easy. Parks and Rec. Yes. Oh, you guys are ready for that one. You're yeah, this one's coming. This next one. Okay, that's enough. Grey's Anatomy. Come on now. Oh, how about this next one? Okay. See, I had to give you some hard ones. This is New Girl. How about this one? Time. How I Met Your Mother. Come on, you guys got to watch more TV, apparently. How about this next one? Yes, good job. Oh, okay, woo! All right, we got some of them out of the way. Okay, which one's your favorite? In my email, I asked you which one's your favorite, and the biggest pie chart piece is Friends. That is what you would say is your favorite. If you don't get my weekly email, you should, because it's fun and it keeps you informed of what's happening here at Centerpoint. If you want that, you can fill out that Connect card, put that in the offering bin later on. And it also enters you in a chance to win today's book that we're covering. So you might want to fill out a card just for that. But back to these shows that I just kind of played songs for. They all have this kind of general positive vibe from these shows that community provides fun, it provides joy, it provides support, it provides connection. Like, I want that, don't you? Like, I want a Joey in my life. I want a George in my life, or I want a Leslie who's positive and fun and just makes plans for me. I want a group that knows my name when I walk into the coffee house and they're just expecting me there. I want a friend that stops by whenever and just hangs out in my basement. Or a friend group that you can just be comfortable with in your messy house, your jammies, or even in times of just like times where you're just like doing you, right? I've said this before, but I love the idea of a friend that just shows up to maybe my house, opens the refrigerator door, grabs a snack or a drink, and is like, oh, hey, by the way, I came into your house, right? I kind of want that. Or a friend group where the question isn't like, what are you doing this weekend? It's, what are we doing this weekend? Or a friend group that their full family and you and your family, you go on vacation and you don't kill each other, right? You actually do it more than once. Or a friend that you just are comfortable with, again, with that messy house or jammies or even the times of just being in silence together. Do you want something like this? Is that even real to have something like this? Honestly, this has been probably one of my biggest thoughts with this. In dreaming, like, am I dreaming up a fairy tale? Or am I just dreaming up a sitcom, right? But I see it, and I mean, don't you? You see it out in the world, and it seems some people have it, but how? Because the majority of us don't have it. So statistics show that about 3 out of 5 of us are chronically lonely. And that's people who would declare they are lonely, not just someone who wants deeper or more connections or deeper relationships. But 60% of people are chronically lonely. So if you're feeling like, I don't have that, no, you're not alone. You're not alone in this. This week, what we're doing is we're looking at a book that was written by Jenny Allen, and the book's called Find Your People. And she's this pastor, she's this author. She's written a number of other books that are quite good. But this one, it's a few years old, but the desire for meaningful relationships, it hasn't changed amongst us as people, along with the amount of loneliness in the world. So I think it's still really relevant for us to talk about today. But this morning, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what Scripture says about creating meaningful relationships, what the big ideas of Jenny's book is, and then we're also going to see like what other people share that I witnessed seeing that they have relationships down. Like they have really good, meaningful relationships. I asked them a few questions, and they shared some of the things of how they created that. So what we're going to do is we're going to see the intersections of Scripture, Jenny's research, and then real-life relationships today. And hopefully better our own relationships. Because wouldn't you want that? Wouldn't you want better relationships? Wouldn't it be great if you had like maybe some tangible things you can do to start finding your people today and be maybe less lonely, experience greater joy in life, or at the very least combat the health decline? I know I do. So we're going to dive in, starting with what the Bible says about relationships. And these next 3 minutes or so, they're a bit dense. So hang in there with me, but it's worth it, and it kind of drives the whole message. So we saw that in Genesis, right, that God says it's not good for us to be alone. So our Creator, who made us in the image of Himself, tells us not to be alone, tells us it's not good to be alone. So whether we want relationships or are just a solitude type of person, we still need relationships. And part of the reason is we are a reflection of God's character. We see that God created us in His image, and God is a relational God. God is actually triune, or has 3 beings that make up what we know of God. And we know this, how God has interacted with the world over time throughout all of Scripture. We can kind of see that God is 3 persons in one. God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit. Many churches call this the Trinity, but that word actually isn't in the Bible. But these 3 beings, they make up God's essence. Try to picture that once. 3 things making up one essence. I'll spare you the struggle because we can't. We just really can't. We don't have a great example of it. Something that always existed, something that is one being but kind of 3 at the same time, fully human, fully divine, fully spirit. Any illustration that we can kind of conjure up is typically off or misses the mark or sometimes just derails things for us in the description. Regardless, though, of how you describe the Trinity or think about the Trinity, what we can know is that we were created in God's image, and if that's the case, we were created to be in relationships like He is. So it's necessary for us. And a few reasons why, specifically for us, that Jenny addresses in her books as she examines Scripture of why it's important for us to be in relationships is this. Like, we make each other better. Iron sharpens iron. That's Proverbs. We remind each other of God and His plans for us, that you and I may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith. That's Romans 1:12. We fight for each other to not be distracted by sin, but exhort one another every day as long as it is called today. That's Hebrews 3:13. We complete each other as it is there are many parts but one body, as in we work together as one team. 1 Corinthians 12. And then finally, we need each other to live out the purposes of God, how God has given us different gifts. That's Romans 12. So again, God created us to be relational, and all of these things are really great, right? God created us that way, and to have really great relationships, to be in His image, to have friendships. And I see all the pros to this, right? But how? How do we actually do it? Have you ever thought about this? Like you strategize for a job interview, you go on dates to find a spouse, you grow up with a family, like you live with them, but how do you actually get friends? And I think Jesus addresses this kind of with this subtle clue in John 15, verses 12 to 17 is what I'm going to read for you. It's right away in the beginning, and let's see if you can catch it. He says, "My command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I have learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command, love each other." So this is Jesus speaking here in John, and he says, great friends lay down their life for each other. And that sounds good, kind of churchy and whatnot, right? But what does that really mean? Like, die for people to be friends with them? Or I need to die for my friends? Like, really? Like, how do I have friends then if I die for them, right? And I think after reflecting on this passage a bit, reading through Jenny's book, and then hearing what others say is necessary for great relationships, I think to some extent, yes, you need to give up your life. But it means something a bit different than simply taking a bullet for other people. What it means is, and I think what Jesus is getting at is this, you need to actually give up some of you for meaningful relationships. And not just give gifts, not just buy the meal when you're out with people or do your annual dinner with people, but to be intentionally giving to others. These are great, but does that develop deep relationships? And I think this is a big shift for many of us that we need to have, because Jenny Allen, she states this, she says, we're all just kind of waiting for a connection to find us. I think we all kind of have a Step Brothers scene in our mind where we just dream this would happen in our relationships, right? Kind of like this scene.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep. Do you want to go do karate in the garage? Yup.
So maybe not completely that, right? But kind of. Do we just become best friends? I mean, just think of your current game plan of how you develop deep relationships these days. We're kind of just hoping something like that would happen, right? You probably don't have a game plan in developing deep relationships because you're not weird like me, or you're not a crazy person, right? Because that's kind of how our culture portrays it if someone is super intentional about relationships. But deep relationships, they don't just come naturally. We think they should, but they don't just come naturally. Yet if you don't have a deep relationship and you want them, you're probably hoping someone else will just make it happen for you. And more often than not, we're all just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And when finally someone makes a move, it's at an inconvenient time. You had plans already. You're already in your jammies. You were hoping to get a few other things done around the house at that time. Or you're waiting to see if that other person that you've been waiting on finally reaches out. And to invest in the relationship that's in front of you, we're inconvenienced. And many of us just aren't willing to give that up. Jenny states, connection costs something more than many are willing to pay. Meaningful relationships, they aren't free. They require us to lay down some of our life for them. And now we're kind of full circle back to that verse, to lay down one's life for your friends. And it's the struggle that I can personally relate with, because I want friends, but I want my time. I want my time. Can you relate? What I want us to see is what we ultimately want, flexible, close relationships, is what we hate, friendships that aren't on our timeline or schedule. I want to give you some real life examples of this from my life. When someone texts me, hey, want to swing by for a beer and to help me move this thing real quick? No, I do not. I do not want to move your awkward, heavy thing. No, right? I'm comfortable right now. Or when someone when we have this family event plan with just my girls, I have a son now, and I'm used to saying girls, but my girls and then my wife, and we're just kind of having this family event plan, and then someone shows up at our house and stays, and I give kind of the evil eye, with some nods and keep making comments of, thanks so much, it was so good seeing you, say bye, girls, say bye, right? Or when it was just going to be Sydney and I for that night, and we're already in our robes, right? And now we're hosting another couple, right? Ugh. Or lastly, it's been a busy week, and our house is a mess, and people won't see the clean me, but they're going to see the real me, right? And when these things happen, I'm like, why are you here? Get out. Did you not see the robe or the mess or hear my kid? All while doing still the church smile, right? And I hate it, but it's also the type of friendship I want. Someone who just comes over. Someone who doesn't care what my house is like. Someone who doesn't care what I'm wearing. Someone who just brings dinner and shows up and hangs out. Someone who just assumes they are in. You see, it's so interesting because the friends we want starts with the thing that many of us hate. And that's just the start. Because when they're around, then they start asking the hard questions about how do you make decisions about parenting? Or they start asking you some of your deeper fears and worries. Or maybe even gets a bit political of why do you believe what you do? Not just who do you like, but why do you believe that? Or they start asking questions about your marriage and how you spend money and your time and your family dynamics. And I don't want to stink and share all that stuff with someone. But it's also the type of friendships I want. I want a friend who understands where I'm coming from. They may not agree with me on everything, but I want a friend who knows my heart. I want a friend who keeps me accountable in my marriage and in my finances and in my time and in my ethics, and not just talks about the weather, talks about the game, but invests in helping me live life to the fullest. But again, these friendships start with a lot of what we hate and don't want to go through in life. But again, Scripture says, great love lays down their life, as in lays down their comfort, their picture-perfect life, their altogether look for their friends. Good friends are ones who lay down their perceived life so that they can truly connect with others. So knowing this, how do we change? How do we change? How do we start becoming a friend who lays down their life and has deep, real, meaningful relationships? And I think there's actually 4 ideas that I saw that were kind of just this common theme from Jenny in her book that I researched, along with the scripture that we just kind of looked at, and then also with what people shared with me who I see, again, have amazing friendships with others. And the 4 things I think Jenny wants you to know from her book, Find Your People, is you need to become the friend you're looking for. You need to make the move. You have people around you already, and you need to let yourself be known. Before we really dive into each of these, though, and you maybe are kind of looking at them and shrugging them off already as kind of simple, Aaron. I've tried that, done that, or that's not going to work in my context because you can't, or it won't work in your context, or you don't even have someone to try these things with. I first off want you to know, if that's you, I hear you and I feel you right now. For about the past 10 years or so with my wife, we've been pursuing meaningful relationships. And I don't say this to discourage you, but we've struggled for a lot of those years. We've gotten so close to this beautiful blend of relationships at times, but then moves happen, or kids happen, job changes happen, and then it's like, really? I got to start over again? Where you try and share, and you find some couples that it just isn't working with, and you don't mesh with, and you just don't connect, and it's exhausting. This is real. This is me, right? This is from the DeMaster perspective. So if you feel this, I hope you know you're not alone. And again, 60%, right? 60% of people are chronically lonely. Relationships are hard, but again, it's worth it. It's worth it. And for me personally, even though I've struggled to get it, something in my deepest yearning knows there's community for my family that is still worth pursuing, even having highs and lows for almost a decade now. Community that will make me better as a person. Community that will care for my family and kids. Community that will have my back and that we can laugh and just enjoy life together. I tell you all this not to just like vent out with you, but to show you I'm working with this. I'm working on this. But on the bright side, these tactics that I've learned through Jenny's book have been a big part of what have brought success to that. And that has really helped us build community over the last 2 or so years. So I'm hoping through this message and these tactics, I can keep getting closer personally to great relationships, but I hope to also help you in that process as well. So we're going to dive into that first one right away. Become the friend you're looking for. When you think of this one, it's basically the golden rule, right? I remember multiple classrooms growing up as a kid where with this placed on the wall or on a podium, right? Did anybody else have that? Okay, I was curious. I didn't know if it was just like a Berlin thing. That's where I grew up. But I saw it everywhere, the golden rule, right? It's do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And this is scripture. This is basically scripture, Matthew 7:12. So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them. For this is the law and the prophets. When bringing this concept to friendships, what kind of friends do you want? Do you want a friend that sends you sweet texts to you? Do that to them. Do you want a friend who brings over a meal in times of need? Do that to them. Do you want a friend who serves you a drink when you first walk in and just chills? Do that to them. Do you want a friend who keeps you accountable to help you keep you accountable to your values, help you combat addiction? Do that to them, right? Do you want a friend that comes on over just randomly? Do that to them. Do you want a friend that says yes to your invites? Do that to them by saying yes to their invites. It's so simple to do if you are giving your life to friendships, right? But if you're not, you would then say no to the inconvenience of it for you personally, of doing these things. No, because you're busy, or because you are set on your comfort and not others per se. Again, I talked about these couples that I just saw crushing friendships, and I asked them. Some go to church, some don't. But I asked them, how did they develop this? How did they get these friendships? And this person, they shared with me, they said, the people we surround ourselves with, most are no longer one-sided relationships. We've just made changes to who we spend time with. We share the same morals and values with the families we surround ourselves with, and all the parents have agreed to treat all the kids the same. That one-sidedness is kind of what I'm getting at here. Looking for relationships that are two-sided, a give and a take, right? And it starts by you becoming what you want. Jenny describes it this way. We can't have what we're not willing to become. So become what you're looking for. Some of you might not sure what that is, and some of you might just be bad pickers, right? You're just bad at it. So I thought I'd give you a few of the traits that Jenny shares in her book. So the first one is availability. Someone who's available, who's ready to invest. Not someone who lives in another state, not someone who's always so busy and complaining about busy and can never get it on their schedule, someone who always says no, someone that's not interested in deep relationships. That's not someone that's available. Don't invest in them. Someone that's humble. That's who you should be looking for. Someone who has humility. Look for people who are able to both say and receive hard things, that are open to your opinion, but also share theirs. And then the last one is transparency. Someone who doesn't hide. They'll put stuff on the table. They'll share stuff. Of those, which one are you not? Transparency, humility, available? Which one do you want more of in your relationship so that you need to become? The next thing on that list was you need to make the move. You make the move. Someone has to attempt to build the relationship. Why not you? Someone has to, right? For all relationships, right? Kids on the playground, dating relationships, meeting new people somewhere, going out for drinks after work. Someone had to have the idea and make the move. And that someone has to kind of keep making the move to progress the relationship into something more deep. My wife is going to hate me for sharing this story, but it is such a good picture of this. When we were first dating, or just met, it was super cute. We were on a mission trip together, so fun. We had a casual coffee afterwards, just talked about life, caught up. And then I asked her out for dinner, and I just bought my truck at that time, so I was feeling all fly, picked her up. The date was perfect. It was perfect. And then we played some tennis the next day, and I let her win, I think at least one match. And then we just kept getting deeper and deeper into conversation every day as we just kind of kept hanging out. But there was one moment where we were together, and it was quiet, and then all of a sudden, just the lightest breaking of wind. I won't say who, but it was something where we both made faces and then just laughed about it. But the action, being an accident, made us real people to each other. That, of course, we all fart. Guys, it's true. Girls do fart, yes. But it was a way for us to get comfortable with each other. But someone had to fart first. Or go first, right? I say this because this is the same with friendships. Someone has to send the invite, right? Someone has to ask the hard question. Someone has to share something deep. Someone has to be real. Someone has to fart, right? And why not you? In all seriousness, Jenny declares this so clearly. She says this: it's rare that someone will take the initiative in friendship, so quit waiting for that to happen. Everybody is busy and few people are prioritizing deep connections. You will never have friends unless you are willing to consistently initiate. This is something we see Jesus does so intentionally when he was here on earth, so clearly. He consistently initiated relationships. He invited himself over for dinner. Zacchaeus, I'm coming over to your house. He noticed people and he stopped and connected with them. Who touched me? I got to connect with them. He was extremely forward. Come and follow me, right? Jesus went first for almost all of his relationships. You need to go first. You might hate this and feel like, why? Why me, right? Well, a Christian believes we are designed for relationships, right? And if you are a Christian and you're feeling a tug for deeper relationships, and you also are trying to bear the image of God, this might be the exact pursuit or next step in your faith that you need to act on. So what does that look like? What does that look like? Well, it could start with sticking around with people here at church, right? Saying to someone, hey, would you and your kids want to walk to the park after church and let's just hang out for another hour. Let them play. They're playing so great. It could be at home. Like when you see the neighbor walking, you don't run away and busy yourself doing something, but you go intentionally trying to engage conversation with, hey, how are you? What's going on in your life these days? Or is it intentionally stating we should grab dinner and then nailing down a date then and there? There was a statistic I saw that if you can't nail down a date after a week or two, it just never happens. So nail it down then and there. Is it just engaging in a conversation more intentionally with the people you're around? That's to start the relationship, right? But unfortunately, if you want deep relationships, you need to keep going. You need to keep going first with sharing something kind of hard. You need to keep going with sharing something kind of vulnerable, with sharing a struggle, with sharing a curiosity you have. Go first by literally going past the superficial. Jenny, she gave two sample questions that I really like that you can use to see if this person is maybe ready and willing to go into a deeper relationship with you. The first one would be asking them, like, what makes you anxious? What makes you anxious? Or what are you longing for? Maybe try that. And if it doesn't work right away, try it again, and then again, and then again, because sometimes it takes time. The next thing that we saw from Jenny's book, or I saw from Jenny's book, that kind of helps us develop meaningful relationships that ties with Scripture is you have people around you already. You already have the people around you. Earlier, we said that we need people who are available, which is what this point is getting at. You have people around you that are available. You need people around you that are available. If all of your friends are 30 plus minutes away or even further or just online even, that's a problem. That is a problem. Call me old school, but online doesn't cut it. You don't have someone who can see your heavy sigh that day. You don't have someone who sees your resting face position and that it's hurting. You don't have like that person, when they're online, they don't get to see the craziness that you went through to get the kids back home from the walk or into the car after buying groceries or even the current exhaustion that's currently just happening in your local area, right? You need a person, kind of like what Charlie Barron's creates, right? Like has a neighbor.
Yeah, I went ahead and fixed your downspout.
And this is Midwest nice with you. They're there.
Looks like you got a dead branch over there.
Yes, I do.
I'll take care of that for you.
Seriously, don't worry about it.
No, I insist.
Did you see your perennials are coming in?
I didn't plant those.
Because I did. They call me old green thumb.
Remember that $30 I borrowed from you 3 years ago?
Yeah, you still haven't paid me back.
That's because I invested it in Bitcoin and GameStop. Put it in a college account for you.
You might need someone like this, right? As in close to you, like a neighbor, like someone that you see regular and is really forward, right? But not superficial. That's where that doesn't portray it super well. Not superficial, not just nice. You need people around you. And if you're here in a seat right now in this room, you have people around you. And this place is just one example. Many of you go to work, your kid's school, you frequent the store or restaurant, that sports practice. If you want meaningful relationships, Jenny states you need to quit viewing these people as nameless people at church or the people at your kid's school or just the people at the football game, but as friends in the making. And it starts with them to start developing relationships with them. You don't need a gazillion friends. We just need a few. Jenny breaks it down like this, actually. Like you kind of have your acquaintances, and then it should funnel into the village, or like 150 people or so, and then it should funnel into 2 to 5 close friends. We all tend to have acquaintances, lots of them, right? People we just interact with, especially if you're part of this church. You're interacting with people all the time. You then have a village, about 150-ish people that are in your life, and then you have a core group. You have a core group of people. She talks about how these days we tend to skip investing in the village, right? The people we are frequently interacting with. We skip over them and just kind of focus on the people that we've already had connections with. And I think some of you have maybe felt it's starting to get skipped here at this church even. As our church has grown, like we're just 3 years old. As our church has grown, we were just a village when we started. We were just a village as a new church plant, but now we're a place that's too big to just be a village for everyone. Your village, even here, it needs to be more intentional, such as the people that are in your life group, the people that you serve in a ministry with, the people who are checking your kids in and working with your kids or caring for your kids. But then from there, you have your inner circle, 3 to 5 very close friends. A few years ago, I did a message that broke this down in biblical times, thinking of Jesus, right? Jesus had community with the people that he was involved with, like acquaintances. Most of Jesus' ministry were all within kind of one vicinity or one area. He then had 12 disciples, kind of broke it down, 12 disciples that he connected with, invested in, but then he ultimately had his 3, Peter, James, and John. 3 people that were his best, his go-tos. And a big prompt from this message that I did years ago, you can find it on YouTube, was who are your 3? Who's your 3? And for today's sake, your 3, it could be found here. It really could be found here. It also could be found at the school event, at a life group, at a sporting event. Quit waiting and act on the first 2 things we've already talked about. One of the couples I talked to, who again is doing relationships really well, like they literally went to Puerto Rico with 6 other couples. Can you imagine juggling those schedules? Especially they all basically have 3 children or more. Crazy, right? The kids didn't go. Somehow they made that work. So even it's crazy. But they made it work, and you want to know where their relationships came from, to do this event? They said this. They said, friendships we made in the past 6 or 7 years because of our kids. We all have kids that are close in age and play sports together. That's who went on that Puerto Rico trip. That's recent, local friends doing dream-like friendship stuff together. I shared, I'm not awesome at this, but one thing I've learned is I just can't do the distance thing. Relationships that are more than 30 minutes away are so hard. Honestly, the relationships Sydney and I are currently trying to invest in are the ones that are almost just a stone throw away. The ones where we're with people that we see frequently, if not weekly, daily, right? Who are those people for you? If you were to chart out all of Jesus' ministry, again, he spent kind of just in one area all his time in a very close place. Who's around you currently? Literally, who is the person that comes to mind right now? Who's around you in very close places? Who's around you? Have you pursued the relationship with them? The last kind of big idea of this book that I want to look at is let yourself be known. Now, this one, it takes time, and I want you to know it should take time. You shouldn't just dump your deep, dark secrets in the first week of a relationship with someone. Hey, we're having dinner together. By the way, I do this, this, and this. You're not dumping everything on someone, right? But if you want deep relationships, you need to actually go deep, right? And that deep is a risk. Women, from my opinion and experience, you guys are way better at this. Way better. Guys, our deep is yeah, I lost someone once. That's hard, right? Or I guess I struggled with that once, kinda. Or yeah, that happened. It was no big deal, though. It was no big deal. We diminish, we fake, and we avoid, right? But if you actually want a deep relationship, it needs to get deep. They need to know your fears. They need to know your failures. They need to know your hurts and your struggles, along with your victories, right? But we all want to be accepted in our dark secrets. But in order to actually know that we are and feel that we are, we need to share them. Meaning, to feel loved in your deepest, darkest secrets, you have to share them. Jenny states this, to be fully loved requires being fully known. But to do that is a giant risk. It's scary. But when you feel a person is finally safe, maybe you spend some time with them, you feel that it's safe, and you think this person could maybe be one of your 3 to 5, Jenny kind of gave 6 steps to help you do this. And it starts with sharing, it all with them. Starting with this, plan a get-together with them. Hey, we should get together sometime. Prepare your friends. Hey, I kind of want us to get deep. I'm hoping to really connect with you. Lead the conversation. Start the conversation. Hey, you go first, right? You share first. Resist the temptation to solve as you're discussing these things. Affirm your friend. Hey, that's really hard to go through. And then plan a follow-up gathering. And I skipped that one, sorry. Resist the temptation to solve. Don't solve their problems, but just affirm them. But these are 6 steps you can do to really help you get deeper with others. As a man, I don't like this. But in my experience, when I've simply started being a bit more vulnerable about my own insecurities, because men have insecurities. I don't know if you knew that. But my struggles, when I started to share my struggles, I've gradually seen others open up with me too. I mean, even here on Sundays, if you've been coming here for a while, you know and you hear about me and my flawedness all the time. And I think it's helped you maybe even be more open to your own flawedness, that you don't know it all, and you do mess up, and you're being more willing to share that with others. When going into relationships, you need to know that they will never be perfect because they'll always be with sinners, with people who are messed up, just like you. But when you let yourself be known, you can start to feel affirmed in a deep way, which helps the relationship grow in a deep way. So as we look at these relationship growth opportunities, which do you need to act on from this message? Do you need to become the friend you're looking for? Do you need to make the move? Do you have people around you already that you need to start investing in? Who are they? Or lastly, do you need to let yourself be known? If you want relationships, now is the time to act. It's not time to wait for it to happen to you. As I wrap up, I want to leave you with this mind picture. Is anyone a gardener here? Who has a garden at home? Okay, good that there's not a lot of you because you might destroy this illustration. Because I'm not a great gardener. I'm just kind of dabbling. We have like these 3 garden boxes at our house, and we're excited about getting it going. We bought a few plants a few weeks ago, but they've just been sitting in our garage, just hanging out. But I know, like, when we plant them, we have about 12 weeks. We have about 12 weeks to get our tomatoes and kale and peppers and soybeans and on and on and on, right? Which I'm excited about. I love fresh produce. And I want them now or as soon as possible, right? But it's just not possible. That's not how gardening works, right? But in my frustration, the solution isn't to sulk about it, but it's to plant them as soon as possible, right? Because once they're planted, the growing process can start. But without the initial planting, they just sit in my garage, and the time just stays at 12 weeks, right? Or whatever the time where the fruit comes. For you and your relationships, I think you want them. I think you know you need them. You just need to start them and plant them. And how you start them is, as our passage said when we first started, it's laying down some of your life to find a good friend. So will you start planting that? I'm going to pray that we do. Would you pray with me as I close us? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for just giving us a clear example of like how we can develop good friends, of what a good friend is. God, thanks for Jenny's research. God, we just pray that we can implement some of those things in our own relationships. But God, we want a community. We want a community because we know that you designed us for community. And God, we know that you designed us for community so that we can be sharper. We can follow through with our Christian values, our Christian hopes and dreams. And God, I just pray that you help us develop community, even though so many of us feel alone. Be with us. Help us find community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.